Ita for holding a grudge against my mom after she sold my missing dad's family heirloom without my consent. I, 21M, was supposed to receive my dad's Rolex when I graduated high school. It was a family tradition to have the father pass it down to each son once they graduate. It's been in my dad's side of the family for a couple generations now. Unfortunately, my dad couldn't do this as he was involved in a serious crime and is currently on the run. I haven't seen him in over a decade. Before he left, he gave my mom the Rolex, telling her to give it to me when I graduate. His departure destroyed our lives emotionally and especially financially. We were pretty poor. I was really close to my dad. Losing him really changed me as a kid, and the only thing I wanted was for him to come back. So when I found out that she had sold the family heirloom to a pawn shop, I became furious. When I confronted her, her reasoning was that a child should not be wearing a Rolex, so you have no use for it. I don't care that it was really expensive. I simply wanted it because it's the last thing I had of my dad. I would have at least appreciated her telling me before she did it. It's been over 4 years and I'm still pissed. Each time I bring it up every now and then, she gets really pissed, telling me to drop it. Ata, you are a jerk and you are being unreasonable. Your dad abandoned you and your mom, making him a criminal deadbeat who ran away from his responsibilities. Despite your childhood image of him as a great man, the reality is that he was a weak coward who chose to leave his family. He had the opportunity to reach out but didn't. Why would you want anything from him? Your mom was left to raise you on her own after being financially ruined. She had to sell something to make ends meet, which happened to be something your dad left behind. He didn't provide any financial support for you, leaving your mom to take care of everything. It's time to let go of the illusion of your dad being a good person and appreciate your mom for being there for you when he wasn't. Let's now move on to another story. Aita for sleeping with different women when we were separated with my wife. We were married to each other with my 32M wife 32F for 5 years. However, she told me she fell out of love with me and looking for something different last year. Even though I tried to convince her to stay, she decided to move forward and we were separated for little over a year. I couldn't move on first, but accepted that's what she wanted after several months. However, one side of me always hoped for her to come back, which she did 3 weeks ago. She told me she wanted to try things out again, which I was content to. We started seeing a couples counselor next week with the intent of aligning our feelings and thoughts before moving in together again. One of the questions that was asked was if I've been in another relationship during that time, or any other women. Counsellor told us honesty is the way to go here, so I came clean. I actually had a go to club get drunk sleep around Faye's for a few months and slept with 13 women in total. I knew she was dating around and was honest with going on dates with 3 different men. However, when I told my part, she got extremely frustrated. Now she thinks we cannot get back together, but I told her we were separated and in the divorce process back then. I think it's impossible to get back together now that I talked about my dating life during our separation, but I wonder if I was an AH for sleeping around when we were separated. You weren't the AH. Your wife wanted to separate, but she didn't want you to sleep with any other woman. Now that she realizes you didn't spend the time just waiting for her, she probably understands she isn't irreplaceable as she thought. To be honest, I doubt that this relationship can be saved, but it's all due to your wife and not your fault. Here is another interesting story for you. Wibta, if I, 29F, backed out of watching my brothers, 37M, triplets when they have a highly contagious and gross disease. My brother, 37M, and his wife, 35F, had triplets, 18 months old, and they're the best kids ever. I, 29F, don't have or want children myself, but I've been dedicated to helping out my brother with the kids whenever they need help, even though they live with my parents now, which is a 7.5-hour drive away. This summer alone, I've made the drive to help out with childcare 5 times. It's exhausting and far, but I love seeing the kids, so I adjust my entire schedule to make these visits possible. They've been very grateful for the help. I'm supposed to come babysit the kids this weekend while my brother and Sil go out of town for an event. which I agreed to do months ago since they had to purchase plane tickets. I was looking forward to it. Here's the problem. My brother just texted me saying that one of the babies has a highly contagious viral infection called hand, foot, and mouth disease and asked if I'd still be comfortable coming to watch the kids. He said the adults in the house don't have it yet, and only one of the kids does so far. But the other two babies will probably get it. He suggested I do some research, which I did, and um, this is absolutely disgusting. It's a disease where you get painful blisters, ulcers, boils all over your hands and feet and face and inside your mouth. Apparently, it's more painful and severe for adults and can include a high fever, sore muscles, and your fingernails could fall off. Your fingernails, guys. There's no treatment or vaccine, so you just have these symptoms for like a week and have to quarantine. It's highly contagious like pink eye or chickenpox, absolutely can spread from babies to adults, and it can spread a lot of different ways. Surfaces, kissing, feces, which is relevant for changing diapers, etc. I am super grossed out and my immediate reaction is hell no. I am not comfortable voluntarily exposing myself to this disease. Plus, I have plans the week I come back home and don't want to have to cancel. And this whole thing sounds absolutely disgusting. But I would feel bad cancelling when I agreed to do it so long ago, and they'd likely have to cancel their trip, which maybe they should do anyways since they've been exposed. I called my mom, who was going to watch the kids with me this weekend, to get her take, and she thinks I'm being overly dramatic because most kids get it, so it's no big deal. Everything I said above was from Google, so not sure how I'm being overly dramatic. But even so, my parents, my brother, and my SIL all live in the same house and have already been exposed to the contagious child, so it's too late for them. The idea of voluntarily exposing myself to this disease is making my skin crawl, but I don't want them to have to cancel their flights. That being said, I can think of 1,000 reasons why I shouldn't go, including my fingernails falling off. And the only reason I should put myself in this situation I'm uncomfortable with is to be a people pleaser. So, Wibter, if I backed out, edit and update. Thank you for everyone who's responded with advice, especially the parents for providing their perspective. I have a few clarifications and an update. First of all, my brother and Esil haven't officially decided they're still going on their trip. I think they were just asking me to weigh their options and figure out what to do. They did say that if they were showing symptoms, they would cancel their trip. They just found out about all of this today, so they're trying to figure out what this disease is and how to proceed. The baby is showing mild symptoms so far, so it's not like they'd be leaving their child in agony. They would never do that. They have always prioritized their kids' safety and health above all else. Secondly, I suppose I should have seen this coming, but I would like to address those saying that they're bad parents. This could not be further from the truth. I could write paragraphs about why that's not the case, but instead, I'll just say that they are incredible parents, and that's been proven hundreds of times since the kids have been born. They have been so dedicated to the babies and given them everything they could possibly need. They are incredible parents, and I'm so proud with how they've handled parenthood so far. Thirdly, their baby has mild symptoms so far and should be just fine in a few days. Thank you to those concerned about his health. My update is that I've told them that I'm not comfortable babysitting and exposing myself to HFMD. I told them that I'm very glad they told me beforehand, and I've decided that I need to prioritize my health and comfort. My brother responded saying he understands, and he hopes to see me soon, so I'm relieved at how this all worked out. Thank you to the adults who have contracted HFMD and told me about their experience. That certainly helped me to understand the severity and make an informed decision. You are not a jerk here, but your brother and sister are, and they are inconsiderate. This illness is highly contagious, so it's concerning that your brother and sister-in-law are still planning to go on their trip. They should reconsider traveling, especially on a flight where they could potentially infect many others. Let's jump to the next story. ATA for not telling my friend her mom was alive. I, 32F, have had a best friend, Louisa, 35F, who is a prankster at heart. I hate pranks. I find them mean and super cruel. Louisa knows not to prank me since it upsets me. 3 months ago, she had pranked a mutual friend, Max 35M, by hiding his car keys somewhere in his house. What she didn't know is that the next day was the day he was supposed to drive me to my final exam. My car had broken down days before. Because he couldn't find his keys, he couldn't drive me, and I had to get a cab who arrived late, and I was not allowed in the exam room and failed the exam. My MBA is being paid for by my employer, and this is now causing me a lot of issues and might have to pay back what my company spent. To make things tragic, the day after my failed exam, Max's mom got into an accident while on vacation in Florida. We live in Georgia, and couldn't drive to the hospital since he was still missing his keys. Max's mom ended up passing away before he managed to get to the hospital and was alone for 2 days waiting for her son. Louisa knew this, but still didn't tell Max that she had hidden the keys or offered to help. It took Louisa 3 more weeks to confess that she was the one who had hidden the keys. Both my friend and I were furious. A few days ago, Max decided to take revenge by calling Louisa with a fake number and pretended to be a doctor calling from a hospital in Ohio, where Louisa's estranged mom lives. The doctor then proceeded to let Louisa know that her mother had passed away, and she was her next of kin, and asked Louisa to come to the hospital. Louisa was obviously distraught and left for Ohio the next day. When she arrived at the hospital, there was no record of her mother, and that's when she found out the call was fake. She called me from Ohio to ask if I knew who had pranked her, and I told her it was probably somebody whose life she ruined because of her stupid pranks and hung up on her. Now she's convinced I was in on the prank, and she got all of our friends to turn against me and Max. I wasn't aware of the prank until after Max called her, but I also didn't warn her before she left for Ohio. Aita? Edit 1. Answering a few questions once and for all. Why did Max wait 2 days to get to his mom? He didn't wait 2 days. It took him 2 days to get from point A to point B. The car journey alone is 10 hours. He got the news late in the evening, and instead of driving to FL overnight, had to contact friends and family for money. No, he had no savings. Find availability at a local car rental a few hours away. We live in a pretty remote area. And make the drive. That doesn't take one HR to do all that, and he definitely didn't sit doing nothing waiting at home. And no, he didn't have a spare, and no, I don't know why he didn't. Some of you have never lived paycheck to paycheck, and it shows. Why didn't Louisa call family or check before going to Ohio? At this point, we weren't talking to Louisa because of the prank on Max, and I have no clue what she did or did not do after receiving the call. All I know is that her mum and their family are estranged and have been no contact for years. Why did she do this? Absolutely no clue. My guess is when she realized I'd missed my exam, she was too embarrassed to say it was a prank, and even more so when Max was freaking out because he couldn't drive to FL. You are NTA. Louisa is insane. She has made your life far more difficult by causing you to miss a professional exam. She has also caused Max ongoing stress and grief because he couldn't be with his dying mother. Louisa's prank went too far and caused a lot of problems for you, especially with Max's mom. It's sad that she didn't take responsibility and make things right. Max's revenge prank wasn't great either, but you didn't deserve any of this. You had no obligation to help Louisa after what she did. It's the time to move to the next story. Aita for telling my mill. She owes her daughter an apology. After my husband told me to stay out of it. Hi, 32F and mum to a 2-year-old little girl. I've been married for the last 4 years and have been with my husband since we were 17. He's a great guy, but sometimes has rose-colored glasses when it comes to his parents, and I think this is the crux of the issue. His parents are kind people who love their kids. However, they're kind of in a bubble and don't really take the time to understand other people or perspectives. For example, I'm an attorney who works, and his mom can't understand why I wouldn't want to be a stay-at-home mom. She isn't rude about it, but just doesn't understand and doesn't really consider there are other ways of life than her own. My husband has a younger sister, 29F, who told my husband and myself she was gay back when she was in college. My husband told her he loved her and was proud of her. For years, she didn't tell her family, and I kind of understand why. Her parents are nice to my brother, who is gay, but they also make some comments about trans people and gay marriage that are a bit ignorant and make me feel uncomfortable, especially knowing their daughter is gay. For years, I've told my husband he should ask his sister how she's doing with it and let her know he'll support her when she tells their parents. He basically said it's not his place that she'll bring it up when she wants. I told him he should at least shut his parents down when they make comments about gay people in front of his sister. But my husband doesn't think his sister cares and knows they're just joking. My husband truly loves his parents, sees them with rose-colored glasses, and couldn't comprehend why they'd care that my SEL is gay. He's insisted there wasn't a problem for years. Well, my SEL has a serious girlfriend for the first time and came out to her parents a few weeks ago. I wasn't there, but apparently they were shocked when she told them. My in-laws weren't horrible, but they didn't handle it great either. On one hand, they said they love her no matter what. On the other, my MEL said she didn't think my SIL was actually gay and insisted she just hadn't found the right guy yet. My MEL cried, my SEL left, and then she sent a text telling my in-laws she needed space. My SEL is very family-oriented and spends a lot of time, IMO too much time, with her parents. So I know she must be hurting. My husband has called to check in on his sister, but he hasn't had an honest convoy with his parents about what happened. He basically doesn't want to get involved, and asked me not to get in the middle either. I think it's between my SIL and her parents to work out, but I did tell my husband I was sad about how his parents handled it, and think he should tell them he's supporting his sister in this. We went to my in-laws' house the other day, and his MIL pulled me to the side. I didn't bring the conflict up, but she started talking about how it's hard when your vision for your kid's life doesn't come to fruition and she needs time to grieve. She says my SEL couldn't expect her to handle it perfectly, not be shocked, and then asked what I thought. Since she asked, I gave my honest opinion. I said my SEL must have been holding that in for a long time, and keeping that from her parents must have been painful. I said, I know it takes time to process these things, but at the end of the day, we all just want my SEL to be happy. I then said she didn't handle it well, and suggested she call and apologize so the family could move forward. My MIL started crying, but ultimately seemed to agree with me. Later, I told my husband about the conversation, and he was furious. He said it wasn't my family, and I need to stay out of it. I told him he needed to grow a spine and support his sister, which I've been telling him for years. I don't get it because he's assertive and confident in every area of his life, except for his parents. He says I'm being too hard on them, but I disagree. AETA, and did I overstep? You are not an AH. Your sister-in-law needs your support, and she will appreciate you advocating for her. It appears that your mother-in-law sees you as family, as she approached you about this issue instead of your husband. Ask your husband to tell his mother that you are not family. This will likely prompt a reaction from her. You are the one your SIL reached out to, and you helped her navigate this situation. So help her. Bye-bye for now. Let's see you tomorrow.